The 5th of May 2025. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst's Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo, bringing you the news for tonight. I am Jayama Ratnayaka.
And I'm Hashni Patrana. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
President meets Vietnamese counterpart. Memoranda of Understanding signed to review progress on bilateral ties and future cooperation. Local government elections 2025, all set for voting to commence at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Special island-wide security program to be in effect. Shooting in Mount Lavinia claims the life of a 19-year-old. Incident related to drug trafficking surmised as motive for the killing. CID complaint lodged against Tusita Hallolua over defamatory comment against President. 900,000 tourists visit Sri Lanka over the past 4 months. In our top story for tonight, Vietnamese President Luong Quoc warmly welcomed President Anrukumara Dissanayake during an official ceremony held in Hanoi this morning, marking the commencement of a state visit from the 4th to the 6th of May. President Anrukumara Dissanayake, who arrived at the Vietnamese presidential palace this morning, was received with a tri-services salute. At the reception, the representatives of the two countries were introduced. The bilateral talks between Sri Lanka and Vietnam began thereafter. At the meeting, the two countries reviewed the progress of their relations, discussed future cooperation and signed several MOUs. Accordingly, 4 Memoranda of Understanding and 1 agreement were signed today between Sri Lanka and Vietnam in the presence of President Anrukumara Dissanayake and President of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Luong Quoc. Among the agreements signed was a bilateral pact on enhancing cooperation and mutual support in customs affairs between the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka and the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Other MOUs signed were between the Ministry of Industry and Trade of Vietnam and the Ministry of Industry and Entrepreneurship Development of Sri Lanka on cooperation in machinery and equipment manufacturing. An MOU between the Vietnam Academy of Agricultural Services and the Department of Agriculture of Sri Lanka on cooperation in agriculture, an MOU between the Bandaranayake International Diplomatic Training Institute or BIDTI of Sri Lanka and the Diplomatic Academy of Vietnam, and an MOU between the Vietnam Trade Promotion Agency and the Sri Lanka Export Development Board on trade promotion cooperation. These agreements aim to facilitate knowledge sharing and the exchange of diplomats, experts, officials, scholars and researchers, while also encouraging the organization and participation in academic and research programs, training initiatives and conferences related to diplomacy. President Anrukumara Dissanayake paid his respects this morning at the War Heroes Monument in Hanoi by laying a floral wreath in honor of those who sacrificed their lives. Following this, the President visited the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum located at the Presidential Palace. There, he placed a floral tribute at the final resting place of the late President Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam's first president and a revered leader of the country's struggle for independence. President Anrukumara Dissanayake has extended a formal invitation to Vietnam's leading conglomerate, Vingroup, to explore investment opportunities in Sri Lanka's real estate and tourism sectors. The invitation was extended during a high-level business meeting held yesterday at Vingroup's headquarters in Hanoi. During the meeting, President Dissanayaka praised Vingroup's remarkable growth and global brand presence, particularly in sectors such as technology, real estate and social enterprises. He emphasized Sri Lanka's readiness to provide a conducive and investor-friendly environment, highlighting the island's strategic location, modernizing infrastructure and governmental support for foreign direct investment. Vingroup Joint Stock Company, formerly known as Technocom Corporation, was founded in 1993 in Ukraine. Currently, Vingroup is one of the largest and most respected private enterprises in Vietnam. As part of the ongoing state visit to Vietnam, President Anurukumara Dissanayaka yesterday visited the Bai Ding Pagoda, one of the largest Buddhist temple complexes in Southeast Asia, where he paid homage and received blessings. On the 6th of May, President Dissanayaka will attend the opening ceremony of the United Nations Day of Vesak celebrations in Ho Chi Minh City as the event's chief guest. The keynote address of the event will also be delivered by President Anurukumara Dissanayaka.
The CID has launched an inquiry into a large cache of gold items and valuables numbering in the tens of thousands discovered by the Sri Lanka Army during the humanitarian operation. This development was reported today before Colombo Chief Magistrate Tanuja Lakmali. The items in question, which were uncovered from former LTTE terrorist camps and various illegal financial institutions and buildings, are currently in the custody of the Military Intelligence Directorate of the Sri Lanka Army.
The Chief Magistrate has issued an order directing that the recovered gold and valuables be handed over to the National Gem and Jewellery Authority for examination and for a comprehensive report to be submitted. The order was issued by the Chief Magistrate following a request made by Deputy Solicitor General Suharshi Herath, who appeared on behalf of the Criminal Investigation Department. Deputy Solicitor General Suharshi Herath, presenting facts before the court, stated that the submission was made in order to obtain a directive allowing the CID to take custody of the stock of gold and valuables currently stored in secure military intelligence facilities of the Sri Lanka Army for the purpose of further investigation. Accordingly, she requested that the National Gem and Jewellery Authority be instructed to assess the value, weight and composition of the items and submit a detailed report to court. Noting that it would not be feasible to analyze the entire collection at once, the Deputy Solicitor General stated that the examination would be carried out in stages. She further informed court that around 300 items would be sent for analysis. Following the analysis, she also requested that a court order be issued allowing the items to be handed over to the central bank for secure storage. Taking these submissions into consideration, Chief Magistrate Tanuja Lakmali granted the orders requested by the investigation officers.
The local government election Sri Lanka 2025.
All arrangements have been finalized for the 2025 local government elections. The election, which will be held to elect 8,287 members to 339 local government bodies, will begin tomorrow at 7 a.m. Polling will conclude at 4 p.m.
The 2025 local government elections will be held tomorrow, the 6th of May. Although nominations for the election were accepted back in 2023, the polls were postponed due to the former government's failure to allocate necessary funds to conduct the elections. The 2025 local government elections will be held for all government bodies except for the Kalbune Municipal Council and the Alpitia Pradeshya Sabha. A total of 8,287 members will be elected to 339 local bodies, which include 28 municipal councils, 36 urban councils and 272 Pradeshya Sabhas. A total of 17,296,330 voters will be eligible to cast their votes at the 2025 local government elections, an increase of 155,976 compared to last year's presidential and parliamentary elections. Polling will take place at 13,759 polling centres across the country. A total of 75,589 candidates will contest the 2025 local government elections, representing 49 recognized political parties and 257 independent groups.
How will the local government election be conducted?
The 2025 local government election will be held under a mixed member proportional representation system. In the mixed member proportional representation system, representatives are elected both from individual wards and through a proportional representation list. Accordingly, 60% of representatives will be elected from wards, while the remaining 40% will be selected based on the proportion of votes each party or group receives.
How are members elected from your vote?
If a political party or independent group secures more than 50% of the total seats in a local authority, the party secretary or group leader has the power to appoint the mayor or chairman of that council. In single-member wards, the candidate who secures the highest number of votes is elected as the representative. In multi-member wards, the 2 or 3 candidates with the highest votes from the winning party or group are appointed as members.
How are the proportional seats calculated?
First, the total number of valid votes in a local authority is divided by the total number of seats to determine the electoral quotient. Then, each party or group's total votes are divided by this quotient to determine how many proportional seats they are entitled to. From that total, the number of seats already secured through wards is subtracted. The remaining seats are then allocated under the proportional representation system.
How should you mark your vote in this year's local government election?
This time the polling card shows the name of the political party or independent group contesting, followed by their symbol and then an empty box where you can mark your vote. As usual, we use a cross mark to vote. In this election too, you should mark a cross in the empty box in front of the symbol of the political party or independent group you wish to vote for.
This time too, you need a valid identity card to vote.
You can
still vote even if you go to the polling station without your official ballot paper, as long as you have a valid identity card. Both the old and new national identity cards are accepted. Other valid documents include a valid passport, a valid driver's license, a public service retiree ID card, an elderly ID card, a clergy ID card, a letter from the Department for Registration of Persons confirming the details of your national ID, a temporary ID issued by the Election Commission for people with complete disabilities, and a temporary ID issued by the Election Commission for those without any ID. Recently issued driver's licenses with a photo from the Department of Motor Vehicles are also accepted as valid ID for this election.
Commissioner General of Elections Saman Sri Ratnayaka said that the process of delivering ballot boxes to polling stations has been completed. He added that the process was carried out under special security.
Ballot boxes were issued to polling centres in the Colombo district from the main election operations office at Royal College, Colombo.
The
distribution of ballot boxes and the issuance of ballot papers for tomorrow's election are taking place at the main hall of the Navaranga at Royal College, Colombo. Police security will be provided to all polling stations starting today. All polling stations will be converted into counting centres after 4 p.m. tomorrow. The results will also be released from these same centres.
කොළඹ රාජකීය විද්‍යාලයේදී පළාත් පාලන ආයතන මට්ටමින් ප්‍රතිඵල නිකුත් කිරීම සඳහා සියලුම කටයුතු සූදානම් කරලා තියෙනවා. තැපැල් ඡන්ද ගණනය කිරීමේ කටයුතු සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ ඒ කොට්ටාස මට්ටමින්මයි. හෙට පස්වරු 4ට තැපැල් ඡන්ද ගණනය කිරීමේ කටයුතු ආරම්භ වෙනවා.
The transportation of ballot boxes to polling stations in the Gampaha district was also carried out under police security.
The counting of ballot boxes and ballot papers will begin at 7 a.m. in 65 halls. 403 centres have been designated for the counting process throughout the district. The counting process will take place after 4 p.m. tomorrow. About 17,500 officers have been deployed for duty, along with only 4,500 police officers.
Ballot boxes were distributed to centres in the Kaluthara district from the Tissa National School in Kaluthara.
තිස්ස විද්‍යාලයේ සිට දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ විවිධ ස්ථාන සඳහා ඡන්ද පෙට්ටි අපි නිකුත් කරලා
We have issued ballot boxes to many areas in the district starting from Tissa College. We specifically request the public to arrive at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning and make arrangements to vote at their polling station. This will avoid unnecessary congestion in the evening. After we close the voting at 4 p.m., we expect to begin counting the votes at 268 centres in the Kalutara district from 5 p.m.
මධ්‍යස්ථාන 268කදී ඡන්දය ගණන් කිරීමේ කටයුතු ආරම්භ කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා පස්වරු 5ට.
Ballot boxes were distributed from Southlands College to polling stations across the Galle district today, and St. Sylvester's College to polling stations in the Kandy district.
මධ්‍යස්ථාන 67ක්
We are carrying out these activities through 67 centres. The election is set to begin tomorrow at 7 in the morning in the Kandy district. The main operations room and the final results processing centre have been prepared at the Kacheri premises. We hope to start the counting at each centre after 4 in the evening, and we are expecting to provide a result in the Kandy district very soon.
Ballot boxes were transported to polling stations throughout the Matale district.
Elections are being held for 13 local government bodies in the Matale district. There are 342 polling stations and 162 counting centres. Accordingly, it is expected that about 4,605 state employees will be employed for this purpose.
Ballot boxes were issued from the Gamini National School to the centres in the Noor Elia district. Ballot boxes were distributed from the Kegol Balika Vidyalaya to polling centres in the Kegol district.
Disaster preparedness measures were in place involving the disaster relief services team and the army to ensure elections continuity despite potential adverse weather conditions.
Ballot boxes were transported to polling stations throughout the Ratnapura district.
The weather conditions in the district are currently very good. Therefore, we are confident that tomorrow's election will be held very well without any disruptions.
Ballot boxes were transported to polling stations in the Kurunagala district this morning from Kurunagala Technological College, Malideva College, Malideva Balika College and the Sir John Kotalawala College in Kurunagala.
Given the prevalent threat of wild elephants in the Ambanpola, Ahatuwawa, Galgamo and Giribawa divisional secretariat areas, elephant deterrents have been prepared and distributed to the relevant Grama Niladaris through the divisional secretariats. Furthermore, the relevant polling stations in these areas are prepared to take appropriate measures to manage any potential elephant-related incidents.
Ballot boxes were distributed from St. Andrew's National School to polling stations across the Puttalam district today.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිසිය විශේෂ කාර්ය බලකාය සහ ත්‍රිවිධ හමුදා
To ensure the security of identified hotspots and every polling station, the Sri Lanka Police Special Task Force and Tri-Forces have been deployed. Additionally, each polling station will have a dedicated security detail of 2 police officers. Regarding the Pukkulama polling station, ground transportation via Wilpattu is planned using safari jeeps. Contingency arrangements are also in place with the Navy preparing vessels in case of adverse weather conditions.
Ballot boxes were distributed from the Badulla Central College and Dharmashno School in Monaragala.
බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා හෙට දිනේදී දිස්ත්‍රික්ක පුරා පිහිටි ගණන් කිරීමේ මධ්‍යස්ථාන 100
Vote counting will take place at 117 centres across the district tomorrow, and we expect to start counting by 4:30 p.m. Divisional level counting is expected to conclude by 10 p.m, allowing for the release of the first council election results.
ගණන් කිරීමට හැකියාව ලැබිලා ඒ වගේම ප්‍රථම පළාත් සභා ඡන්ද ප්‍රතිඵල නිකුත් කරන්න අපිට හැකියාව ලැබෙයි කියලා අපි කල්පනා කරනවා.
Ballot boxes were distributed from the Batikalo Hindu College to polling stations across the Batikalo district today. Ballot boxes were transported this morning from the Election Operations Centre at Anuradhapura Central College to various centres across the district.
ඡන්ද ගණන් කිරීම සිද්ධ වන්නේ ඒ ඡන්ද ප්‍රකාශ කරන මධ්‍යස්ථානවලමයි. ඒ යටතේ ගණන් කිරීමේ මධ්‍යස්ථාන 226කදී
The counting of votes will commence immediately following the close of polls at 226 centres, which also served as polling stations. The consolidated results will be released from a central hub in the Anuradhapura city. Over 10,000 state employees and approximately 2,300 police officers have been deployed for election duties.
යොදවාගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ආරක්ෂක කටයුතු සඳහා පොලිස් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ 2300කට අධික නිලධාරීන් සංඛ්‍යාවක් අපි යොදවාගෙන තියෙනවා.
Ballot boxes were transported this morning from the Polonnaruwa Royal College to various centres across the district.
Recognizing the widespread threat of wild elephant across the Polonnaruwa district and with results tabulation and release occurring at the divisional level this election, ensuring the safety of relevant officials is paramount. To address this, we have collaborated with the Wildlife Department and deployed 18 teams strategically throughout the district.
Ballot boxes were transported this morning from the Vipulananda College to various centres across the Trincomalee district.
ගණන් කිරීමේ මධ්‍යස්ථාන 129කදී මෙම ඡන්දය ගණන් කිරීම
To ensure accurate and secure vote tabulation, 3,820 election officials will conduct the counting process across 129 centres with 1,700 police officers providing security.
මගේ කාර්යයන් කරනු ලබනවා.
The chairman of the Election Commission expressed his views on the preparations for the local government elections.
The dispatch of officials, documents, polling cards and ballot boxes to 13,759 polling stations across 4,877 divisions in 339 local government institutions is currently underway through the offices of the returning officers in all 25 districts. The returning officers have informed the Election Commission that preparations at all polling stations scheduled for tomorrow's election have been completed and all necessary security arrangements are in place. It is important that all officers appointed for election duty who have received their appointment letters report for duty on the assigned date and time.
නියමිත වේලාවට වාර්තා කිරීම අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වෙනවා.
The police spokesperson said that 3,216 mobile patrols are operating across the island and a special security program is being carried out with the deployment of 65,000 police officers.
We are especially assigning officers to polling centres. In addition, police officers are stationed at checkpoints and mobile patrols have been arranged to cover several polling centres. Therefore, if any law is violated near a polling centre, the responsible individuals will be arrested and prosecuted through these mobile patrols. From the beginning of this election, only a few incidents of violence have been reported. So far, we have received only 568 complaints and reports of law violations. In connection with these, 54 candidates and 204 supporters have been taken into custody and legal action is being taken against them.
54 දෙනෙක් සහ ආධාරකරුවන් 204 දෙනෙක් අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමක් සිදු කර ඔවුන් සම්බන්ධයෙන් නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා තිබෙනවා.
A total of 4,450 local observers are set to monitor the 2025 local government elections. The executive director of PAFREL, Rohana Hettiarachchi, said that there are 3,000 observers, including 800 mobile observers, ready for deployment. The CAFE organisation will deploy 1,250 observers, as confirmed by its executive director, Ahmed Manaz Makin. The Institute for Democratic Reforms and Electoral Studies, or the IRES, will contribute 200 observers to the election monitoring process. Due to the local government elections, schools will remain closed tomorrow. The Ministry of Education announced that schools will reopen on the 7th of May. The issuance of one-day and regular passports will be restricted from today until the 7th of May. 24-hour services will also not be operational during this period. The issuing of vehicle revenue licenses in the Western Province will be temporarily suspended today and tomorrow, as officials will be engaged in election duties. The Department of Registration of Persons and its provincial officers, including one-day services, will not operate today and tomorrow. The Election Commission has instructed both public and private sector employers to grant paid leave to employees for the purpose of casting their votes. The MTV MBC Media Network is all set to bring you all the latest updates on the local government elections once again through Newsfirst First and Fast election broadcast.
Voting for the local government elections will begin at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Newsfirst is ready to launch its special election broadcast from 6:30 a.m. onwards. Sirasa TV, Shakti TV and TV1 along with Sirasa FM, Shakti FM, Yes FM and YFM will all be sharing election updates across the Sirasa Media Network. Leveraging modern technology, we will report election details from the Newsfirst Centre in Colombo and Stein Studios in Ratmalana. Newsfirst regional reporters alongside our network of local correspondents will provide live coverage from across the country. The special election broadcast will begin from the Newsfirst Centre in coordination with election officers, government officials and the police to keep the public informed as the voting proceedings commence. Tomorrow night, we will begin broadcasting the first official postal vote results and continue sharing live updates from Stein Studios, Ratmalana until the final election result is announced. Election results will also be delivered in real time through the Newsfirst website at www.newsfirst.lk and via Newsfirst SMS service in all 3 languages.
News First with the people.
The local government election Sri Lanka 2025.
A 19-year-old youth from Dehiwala was shot dead on Beach Road in Mount Lavinia earlier today.
The shooting took place at around 6:35 a.m. today. According to police reports, 2 unidentified individuals on a motorcycle approached the victim and opened fire using a 9mm handgun before fleeing the scene. This is how the shooting incident was captured on a nearby CCTV camera. CCTV footage also captured the victim fleeing towards the main road after being shot. The motorcycle gunman followed the victim and once again fired several more shots at the victim near the main road. Even though the victim, who sustained critical injuries, was admitted to the Kalabovila Teaching Hospital, he later succumbed to his injuries. The deceased was a 19-year-old resident of Dehiwala.
No criminal record has been reported against the victim. However, there are reports linking his mother to narcotics-related activities and legal proceedings are ongoing against her in that regard. Our investigation is focused on determining whether this incident is connected to those issues or if it stemmed from a different motive.
The total number of shooting incidents reported for this year so far is at 42. The total number of suspects arrested in connection of these incidents so far stands at 94.
මේ දක්වා මේ සංවිධානාත්මකව සිදු කළ වෙඩිතබා ගැනීම සිදුවීම් 28ක් වාර්තා වෙනවා. එමෙන්
So far, 28 of these incidents have been identified as organized shootings. Of the total 42 shootings reported, we have apprehended 94 suspects. Firearms involved include 3 T-56 assault rifles and 3 pistols, among 6 automatic weapons recovered. Additionally, even though unrelated to the shootings, we have seized 11 unauthorized T-56 rifles and 23 other firearms, including pistols and automatic weapons, making a total of 39 illegal firearms confiscated so far this year. We are committed to using all our resources to solve these crimes and reduce future incidents. It is also important to note that many of the masterminds behind these crimes operate from overseas. Diplomatic efforts are currently underway to bring them back to Sri Lanka.
ඔවුන් ලංකාවට ගෙනීමේ ක්‍රියාවලිය රාජතාන්ත්‍රික මට්ටමින් මැදිහත් වීමක් සිදු කරලා අපි මේ වෙනකොට සිදු කරමින් පවතිනවා.
In more local news, a group of attorneys yesterday lodged a complaint with the CID against Thusita Hallolua, former Executive Director of the National Lotteries Board and former Director General of Public Relations to former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, over an allegedly defamatory and false statement made concerning the current president. The complaint requests that a prompt investigation be carried out against Thusita Hallolua, citing that a statement made using the name of President Anukumara Dissanayake could cause significant harm and reputational damage to the president. The attorneys have urged the CID to take appropriate legal action without delay.
When a false statement is made over President Anukumara Dissanayake with malicious intent, it is publicized heavily by social media activists, bringing disrepute to the president. We made a complaint to the CID this morning over the false statement made without comprehending the depth of it. Based on the initial complaint, the CID informed us that it requires to obtain a written statement on the matter, which is why we arrived at the CID.
ලිඛිත ප්‍රකාශයක් වාර්තා කිරීමට අවශ්‍යයි කියලිවලා ප්‍රශ්න කිරීම තුල ඒ අනුව එම ප්‍රකාශ ලබා දීම තමයි පැමිණියේ.
Mahesh Gammampila, the former Additional Secretary to the State Ministry of Agriculture, who was released on bail today, was remanded once again after he failed to fulfill bail conditions. The case against Mahesh Gammampila, former Additional Secretary to the State Ministry of Agriculture, was recalled in court today in connection with allegations of authorizing the importation of a substandard shipment of Chinese organic fertilizer. The incident, which took place during the administration of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, is alleged to have caused a financial loss of $6 million to the Sri Lankan government. During the proceedings, the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption informed Colombo Chief Magistrate Tanuja Lakmali that an investigation was ongoing regarding instructions allegedly issued to open suspended letters of credit for the controversial fertilizer shipment. The Commission further revealed that several former ministers could be taken into custody as part of the ongoing probe. Officials of the Bribery Commission stated that the fertilizer shipment, imported from a Chinese company despite failing to meet national standards as confirmed by the National Plant Quarantine Service, constituted an act of misconduct by a public official. As such, investigators requested that Gammampila remain in remand custody on corruption-related charges. Appearing on behalf of the suspect, President's Counsel Upul Kumara Peruma argued that Gammampila acted in accordance with a cabinet decision made during Gotabaya Rajapaksa's tenure and his client was not at fault. He emphasized that the fertilizer imports had cabinet approval under a 2021-2022 proposal signed by then Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage. The President's Counsel further disclosed that the Chinese government later suspended a loan worth 1 billion yuan to Sri Lanka over the incident, turning it into a serious diplomatic concern. He asserted that his client only served as the convener of the committee formed by the cabinet and was not directly involved in importing the fertilizer shipment. Following the arguments, CID representatives told court that authorizing letters of credit after knowing the product had failed local quality standards was unacceptable conduct for a government official. After considering the submissions, the magistrate ordered the release of the suspect on bail on 5 sureties of 5 million rupees each. However, as the suspect failed to fulfill the bail conditions, he was returned to remand custody. Former Minister Mervyn Silva was remanded until the 19th of May after he was produced before Mahara Magistrate Kanchana N. Silva earlier today. An open warrant was also issued by the magistrate for the arrest of former State Minister Prasanna Ranavira and Milroy Pereira, who are currently absconding. The CID informed court that extensive searches of their suspected hideouts have been unsuccessful. Furthermore, the CID disclosed that an investigation is ongoing regarding the property of former State Minister Prasanna Ranavira. These cases stem from allegations of offences under the Public Property Act, specifically the unlawful sale of a government land to a private buyer. 4 more students of the Sabaragama University have surrendered to the police in connection to the death of an undergraduate of the same university. They have since been handed over to the CID for questioning. Previously, 4 students of the university who were arrested over the death were remanded until the 16th of this month after they were produced before the Balangoda Magistrates Court. The students were arrested yesterday by the Criminal Investigation Department. According to the police, they are third-year students of the Faculty of Technology of the Sabaragamuwa University.
Newsfirst with the people.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe emphasized the critical role of the newly launched Sustainable Finance Roadmap 2.0 in guiding Sri Lanka's financial sector through the twin challenges of climate risk and social inequality. The Sustainable Finance Roadmap 2.0 is a comprehensive framework aimed at embedding environmental, social and governance principles into the country's financial system. Building on the foundation laid by the first roadmap introduced in 2019, the updated version reflects Sri Lanka's evolving economic landscape, international climate commitments and the urgent need for a resilient, inclusive and green economy. Speaking at the official launch of the roadmap, Governor of the Central Bank Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe acknowledged the economic turbulence of recent years, noting that while stability has been largely restored, the path ahead demands strategic foresight and collective action.
As you all know, the past few years have been a challenging period not only for the financial sector but for the whole economy. We have made considerable progress in terms of restoring stability. However, the future challenges are not to be undermined. I believe Sustainable Finance Roadmap 2.0 is one such policy initiative that will guide us towards how we, particularly as a financial sector, collectively should strategize in terms of environmental and social challenges that may rise due to potential climate events and also the social events. In terms of social aspect of Sustainability Roadmap 2, this will serve for the broader theme of social justice with special emphasis on MSMEs. As already mentioned, MSMEs are important, and also vulnerable groups and gender equality. That's covering 3 areas: MSMEs, vulnerable groups and gender equality. National Financial Inclusion Strategy, NFIS, that's also we are giving the leadership. That's NFIS Phase 2 will also be implemented as part of the roadmap, which is expected to promote inclusive green financing. We have challenges to overcome, especially with the institutional coordination and alignment with the national strategy in climate financing. More emphasis on adoption financing remains to be addressed, while different avenues to facilitate blended financing is one of the important instruments where private sector finance can be attracted. Then the finance institutions can also collaborate with the state and needs to be revisited. While new challenges will emerge with the evolution of the subject area, implementation of the actions laid down in Roadmap 2.0 is very important, as it will strengthen the foundation of the finance sector to gain more resilience against climate risk while uplifting financial inclusion among society. Successful implementation of Roadmap 2.0 will position Sri Lanka at the forefront of the sustainable finance leadership in the region. At the launching of the Roadmap 2.0, my request to all of you, the stakeholders, who have validated this document, and we have had good collaboration and consultation with all the stakeholders, is to extend your fullest cooperation in achieving the targets set in a timely manner and contributing to the area of sustainability, both individually and collectively, understanding its criticality as a nation in driving the mandate on climate combating and social inclusiveness.
The Sustainable Finance Roadmap 2.0 was developed by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka with technical and financial support from the International Finance Corporation in partnership with the European Union and in close collaboration with financial sector regulators, financial institutions, government bodies and other stakeholders.
Approximately 900,000 foreign tourists have visited Sri Lanka during the first 4 months of the year. In the month of April, 174,608 tourists arrived in the country, a 17.3% increase compared to April last year.
According to the data released so far, 896,884 foreigners have arrived in the country since last January until the end of April. It is noteworthy that the growth achieved in April compared to 2024 was 17.3%. The growth achieved in January this year compared to 2024 was 21.4%. Growth in February had been 10%, while growth in March was 9.62%. The majority of the tourists who arrived last month were Indian nationals, amounting to 22.2% of the total. The second highest number of tourists in April was reported from the United Kingdom at 9.9%. A total of 13,525 Russian nationals visited the country last month, which is the third highest percentage. Data released by the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority indicates that the highest number of tourist arrivals were recorded from these countries in the last 4 months of this year.
Wonderful, and the people in Sri Lanka are amazing. They're so friendly, so kind and so helpful, and I'm very, very happy that I came.
We love the different areas, we love the food, the fruit and veggies are just fantastic.
For us in Australia, very economical holiday that I can see a lot of Australians, if they knew more about it, would be more interested, because we've had a wonderful holiday and beautiful.
Every single day is new landscape. No, it's pretty good. You see the weather is completely changed.
In the first 3 months of the year, the country earned 104.8 billion rupees from tourists. The Pakistan military said today that it had conducted a missile test with a range of 120 kilometers, the second launched in 2 days, as tensions with India have soared over disputed Kashmir. The second missile test by Pakistan comes as Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was in Islamabad today for talks with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif before heading to New Delhi later this week. Araghchi will be the first senior foreign diplomat to visit both countries after Iran offered to mediate between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. The Iranian Foreign Ministry's spokesperson said, and I quote, "We do not want tensions to develop in this region, and we will spare no effort to help de-escalate the situation between the two countries," end quote. According to Monday's statement, the Pakistan military tested a surface-to-surface missile with a range of 120 kilometers. Moody's ratings on Monday said sustained escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan will not have any major economic disruption in the country, but will be a setback for Islamabad as its forex reserves could come under pressure and weigh on growth. In its commentary titled, quote-unquote, "Escalating Pakistan-India tensions would weigh on Pakistan's growth," Moody's said it does not expect major disruptions to India's economic activity because it has minimal economic relations with Pakistan. Russian President Vladimir Putin called Prime Minister Narendra Modi and strongly condemned the attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, in which 26 people were killed. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal said in a post on X, and I quote, "He conveyed deepest condolences on the loss of innocent lives and expressed full support to India in the fight against terrorism." He emphasized that the perpetrators of the heinous attack and their supporters must be brought to justice, end quote. During the call, Prime Minister Modi also invited Putin for the annual summit scheduled to be held in India later this year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Indian Defence Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh today, day after he was briefed by Indian Air Force Chief, Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, on the overall preparedness of the Indian Air Force in the context of retaliatory options being weighed by the government following the Pahalgam terror attack. Meanwhile, the UN Security Council will be holding a closed-door meeting with its members on the escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan. Pakistan had sought an emergency meeting on the issue. Meanwhile, Pakistani troops resorted to unprovoked firing in 8 forward sectors along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir, violating ceasefire agreements and prompting retaliation from Indian troops. This marks the 11th consecutive night of Pakistan's unprovoked firing along the line of control, amidst heightened tensions between New Delhi and Islamabad following the killing of 26 people in the April 22nd terror attack in Pahalgam. Meanwhile, the security forces in Jammu and Kashmir have intensified their search for the terrorists behind the deadly Pahalgam attack and are now focused on 54 routes that begin from Baisaran, the valley where the terror attack left 26 people dead last month. The overground workers, or the OGWs, who have been arrested for providing logistics to terrorists, have also been taken to the forests for the search operations. According to sources, the terrorists are believed to be in hideouts in the forests. The probe has so far found that 3 terrorists, 2 from Pakistan and 1 from Jammu and Kashmir's Anantnag, had opened fire on tourists in Baisaran Valley, known as Mini Switzerland, killing 25 Indian nationals and a Nepali citizen on the 22nd of April.
In more foreign news, in an exclusive interview with NBC News' Meet the Press, President Donald Trump offered his clearest indication yet that he will leave the White House at the end of his second term without trying to extend his stay, acknowledging the constraints preventing him from seeking a third term.
US President Donald Trump told Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker in an interview that aired Sunday, quote-unquote, "I will be an 8-year president. I will be a 2-term president. I always thought that was very important."
The Trump organization is selling hats that say Trump 2028.
Yeah.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat. But this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican, to carry it forward. But I think we're going to have 4 years, and I think 4 years is plenty of time to do something really spectacular.
The Constitution does prohibit it. Some of your allies are pretty serious about this, though, Mr. President. I've spoken to them. They say they are coming up with potential ways. Well, obviously, the biggest one will be a constitutional amendment.
That's because they like the job I'm doing, and it's a compliment. It's really a great compliment.
Has anyone approached you, though, with an actual plan, a way to actually start the process?
Well, there are ways of doing it.
Amendment?
There are ways of doing it, and you know the same thing. And if you look at the vice presidential thing, and you hear different concepts and different other people say you can have a write-in vote. There's lots of different things. With all of that being said, I want to be a great president. I will have served. Hopefully, everything will go well. I feel very good. I just did a physical. I took, unlike all other presidents, I took cognitive tests and I aced it. I got 100% correct. And one doctor said, there were numerous doctors watching. And he said, I've never seen that before. Biden didn't take a cognitive. He couldn't have gotten the first question right. But I came out great with the physical, both physically and mentally. And I just want to serve, do a great job. I'll be an 8-year president. I'll be a 2-term president. I always thought that was very important, to be honest with you. You know, if you look at President Polk, he was a 1-termer and he did some great things, actually. A pretty good president. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but there's something about being a 2-term president that was very important to me.
Trump also highlighted several other rising stars in the Republican Party he said are capable of carrying the MAGA mantle after he has finished as the GOP's elected leader, mentioning not only Vice President J.D. Vance but also Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who has become a central player in his second administration.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching.
Good night.